Welcome to PBS 39 Scholastic Scrimmage. Scholastic Scrimmage is brought to you by the members of PBS 39 and by
Scholastic Scrimmage is sponsored by St. Luke's University Health Network, the region's leading provider of medical education. For more than 100 years, St. Luke's has been dedicated to educating physicians, nurses, and healthcare professionals. To learn more, call St. Luke's InfoLink, toll free at 866 St. Luke's, or visit sluhn.org.
Support for PBS 39's educational programming is provided by the Deluxe Corporation Foundation, proud to support quality programming on PBS 39.
And now your host, Dr. Karen Walton, Provost DeSales University.
Welcome to Scholastic Scrimmage. This is the 6th contest of the 2016-2017 academic year. It's also the 43rd year that PBS 39 has brought you this academic competition. I'm Karen Walton, and I'm delighted to be your host. From now until May, the best and brightest students from 30 schools will compete for the honor of being the Scholastic Scrimmage champions. At the end of the season, the 2 final teams will win scholarships for their schools from the Air Products Foundation. Let's meet the team from Deer High School.
My name is Sanar Batar, and I'm a junior.
My name is Claudia Rippi, and I'm a junior.
My name is Joey Saba, and I'm a senior.
My name is Adib Saeed, and I'm a junior.
Deer's coach is Chris Bender. And now the team from Jim Thorpe High School.
I'm Trevor Kiefer, and I'm a junior.
Hi, I'm Takumi Hawes, and I'm a senior.
I'm Maggie Holloway, and I'm a senior.
Hi, I'm Ian Montelius, and I'm a junior.
Jim Thorpe's coach is Shelley Moyer. The judges for today's contest are Sally Campbell, retired English teacher, and Dr. Gary DeLeo, professor of physics at Lehigh University. Remember that the questions on Scholastic Scrimmage demand rapid recall of factual information and are not necessarily indicative of academic training. We understand the rules, so let's begin the contest with the toss-up in language arts. If you were reading a novel about Raskolnikov, what famous Russian novel? Jim Thorpe?
Crime and Punishment.
Bonus? Who was the author of Crime and Punishment? Takumi?
Dostoevsky.
Correct. Toss up in mathematics. What is the graph of the equation on the monitor in the xy plane? Dearif?
A circle.
It goes over to Jim Thorpe. Trevor?
An ellipse.
It is a point. If you look at that, you will see that it is the form of a circle, but on the right of the equation sign was a 0, so that means that the radius would be 0, making it a point. Good try. Toss up in biology, multiple choice. A chemotactic factor is a chemical that A, destroys cells, B, attracts cells, C, causes cell division, or D, inhibits cell division. Jim Thorpe?
A.
Jim Dearif? Dearif?
C.
It is B. It attracts cells. Toss up in world history. Who was the British Prime Minister who tried to appease Hitler prior to Dearif?
Winston Churchill.
I will continue for Jim Thorpe. Takumi?
Chamberlain.
It was Chamberlain. The bonus for Jim Thorpe. Prior to World War II, Russia and Germany signed a non-aggression pact. Pictured on the monitor are 3 major players in World War II history. For 5 points each, first, name the Soviet foreign minister signing the document. Takumi?
Stalin.
It is Molotov. And second, name the Soviet leader standing behind Molotov. Takumi?
Stalin.
Correct. Toss up in mathematics. A room is 2 feet longer than it is wide and has an area of 120 square feet. Find Dearif?
12 by 10.
It is 12 by 10. And your bonus. To get an A in a course, you must have an average of at least 90% of 4 tests that have 100 points each. If your scores on the first 3 tests were 87, 92, and 84, what is the lowest percent you can score on the 4th test to still get an A for the course? Joey?
A 95.
It is a 97. Toss up in American literature. Name the protagonist in the American story that takes place in the Catskills, where the protagonist encounters a group of bearded men dressed in old-fashioned Dutch clothing and who are playing ninepins. Rip Van Winkle. Toss up. Current events. What local institution of higher education has as its nickname Mountain Hawks? Jim Thorpe?
Lehigh University.
Yes. Bonus for 5 points each. Identify the local colleges whose mascots are, first of all, leopards. Takumi?
Lafayette College.
Mules.
Muhlenberg.
Yes. Biology. Sympathetic and parasympathetic are divisions of what portion of the nervous system? Autonomic nervous system. Mathematics. How can the expression on monitor be written in a single interval? Dearif?
All real numbers excluding -6 to 4.
Over to Jim Thorpe.
X is less than -6 and greater than -4.
The answer is negative infinity to positive infinity. You saw that those two intervals overlapped and there was the union of them. So it's negative infinity to positive infinity. Toss up in British literature. If you were reading about Billy Bones, Black Dog, and Jim Hawkins, what book are you reading? Jim Thorpe?
Treasure Island.
Bonus. Who wrote Treasure Island? Takumi?
Stevenson.
Yes, Robert Louis Stevenson. U.S. history. Which conflict is known as the War of Iniquity, the Unnecessary War, and Dearif?
Is it the War of 1812?
Correct, and your bonus is this. For 5 points each, give the names of the 2 ships involved in a confrontation off the coast of Virginia on June 22, 1807. One of several that ultimately led to the War of 1812. The British ship fired on the American ship, killing 3 men, and then dragged 4 deserters away. Dearif?
The Chesapeake and the Geary.
The Chesapeake and the Leopard. So you did get 5 out of a possible 10 points. Toss up in biology. What is the standard 6-letter term for the removal and examination of body cells taken from a living subject? Dearif?
Biopsy.
Correct. Bonus for 5 points each. In what part of the human body would you find the following groups of bones or tissue? First, maxilla, temporal, and parietal.
The brain. Are you sure?
Joey?
The brain.
That's incorrect. It's head or skull, not the brain. Next, carpus, metacarpus, and phalanges? Joey?
The leg.
The hand. Toss-up in art, multiple choice. The School of Athens, shown on the monitor, is considered the greatest masterpiece by which of these? Jim Thorpe?
Raphael.
Is correct. And your bonus. Consider the lower right portion of the School of Athens. Name the young man who is part of this crowd of geographers. Takumi?
Raphael.
Yes, it's a self-portrait. Toss-up in physics. Cars were powered using various methods when they first arrived on the streets of America. Internal combustion and steam were used. A third method was also used and is now considered to be the modern-day answer to car pollution. What is the third method of powering? Jim Thorpe?
Electric.
Yes, and your bonus. Cars often have this unit in their description, which is the power needed to lift 33,000 pounds and move it 1 foot in 1 minute. What is the unit? Takumi.
Horsepower.
Correct. U.S. geography. Ashland is in Kentucky. In what state would you find the city of Asheville? Jim Thorpe?
Tennessee.
Over to Deareth. No conferring. This is still a toss-up. Joey?
Alabama.
It is in North Carolina. Toss-up in American literature. Authors sometimes use animals in metaphoric or symbolic ways. What animal is missing in the title of this play by Eugene O'Neill? The Hairy Blank. Deareth?
Bear.
Jim Thorpe?
Spider.
Ape. Toss-up in world history. Name the infectious disease that was the probable cause of what is commonly called the Black Death, or it was Deareth? Response?
The bubonic plague.
You are correct. And your bonus? From what disease did 25 of 50 million people die in 25 to 50 million people die in 1918 and 1919. Half of the U.S. soldiers who died in Europe died of this disease.
I think it's the Spanish plague.
Joey?
The Spanish plague?
I believe that they will take that, the Spanish flu. All right, next toss-up is in chemistry. State the general solubility rule. Joey?
All group 1 elements are soluble.
Over to Jim Thorpe. Like dissolves like. It is halftime. The halftime score is Jim Thorpe, 95, Deareth, 30. In the first round, we asked the students to tell us if a student, he or she, has a hero or a role model. So let's begin with Deareth. Sinar.
My role model would be my twin sister, Yanar, because she inspires me to do great things.
Identical or fraternal?
Fraternal.
Fraternal. Claudia.
My role model would be my mother, who inspires me to work harder every day.
Thank you. Joey.
My role model would be Robin Williams because he inspires me to make someone smile every day, even in his grave.
He was a great guy, wasn't he?
He was a great man.
Great guy. Adib.
My role model is Kobe Bryant because he redefined the meaning of hard work.
Yes. Jim Thorpe. Trevor.
My role model is my pole vaulting coach, Walt Bevilacqua.
And Takumi.
My role model is Severus Snape because he was loyal to Dumbledore the whole time.
Margaret.
My role models are my parents for always supporting me.
And Ian.
My role model is my mother for all she's gone through and how strong she is.
Thank you. Thank you all. Next is mathematics. Multiple choice. Which of the following statements is false? All irrational numbers are real numbers. All even numbers are composite numbers. The number of primes is infinite. Or Jim Thorpe?
All even numbers are composite numbers.
You are correct, and your bonus. Find the perimeter of a square whose diagonal is 4. Takumi?
8 root 2.
8 radical 2 is correct. The next toss-up is in language arts. A sentence may be of several types. What does an interrogative sentence do? Jim Thorpe?
Asks a question.
Bonus. What does an imperative sentence do?
It's a
Takami?
command. It's a command.
It expresses a command is correct. Toss-up in world geography. One of the 7 new wonders of the world announced in 2007 is an amphitheater that is the model for most sports stadiums built today. Dirif?
Coliseum.
Is correct. And the bonus? Another of the new wonders of the world is the town of Pita, capital of the empire of King Aretas IV. It is built on the edge of the Arabian Desert. In what country is Petra located? Joey?
Jordan?
It is in Jordan. Toss up in U.S. history. The Speaker of the House is third in line in succession to the presidency. Only one speaker, however, has ever become president of the United States. Name this 19th century figure who became president several years after being Speaker of the House. James Polk. Toss up in mathematics. What adjective describes a polygon, all of whose sides are tangent to a circle? Dirif?
Regular.
Jim Thorpe? Takumi?
Circumscribed.
Yes. Bonus for 5 points each. Answer the following problems which refer to a baseball diamond whose consecutive bases are 90 feet apart. First, in simplified radical form, give the distance from home plate to second base. Takami?
45 root 2.
It is 90 times root 2. Second, what is the area of the playing space inside the diamond? Takami?
8,100 square feet.
Correct. Toss up in chemistry. The chemical symbol abbreviation for lead sulfide is the same as a television network's abbreviation. Jim Thorpe?
PBS.
Yes. Bonus. The group 5 elements of the periodic table comprise the nitrogen group. Name any 3 of these 5 elements, no partial credit given. Takumi?
Nitrogen, oxygen, and silicon.
No partial credit is given. You could have had any 3 of these. Nitrogen, phosphorus, arsenic, antimony, or antimony, bismuth. Toss up in mathematics. If I is equal to radical negative 1, evaluate I plus I squared plus I cubed plus I to the 4th, and simplify your answer. Jim Thorpe?
-1 root 1.
Dirif? Deareth?
1.
It is 0. Toss up in world history. What Polish-born scientist was the first person? Jim Thorpe?
Copernicus.
I will continue for Deareth. What Polish-born scientist was the first person to win or share 2 Nobel Prizes and was the first woman to teach at the Sorbonne in Paris? Joey? Oh, excuse me, it was Deareth. It's still a toss-up. Joey?
Marie Curie?
Yes. And your bonus
I was going to say that.
is, though Marie Curie died in 1934, she was reinterred in 1995 as the first woman to be placed under the dome of what famous Parisian building, modeled after a building with the same name in Rome? Joey?
The Acropolis?
Pantheon. The Acropolis is in Athens.
Probably is.
Chemistry. Name the type of bond formed when nonmetals share electrons unequally. Deareth?
Ionic.
Over to Jim Thorpe. It is Tukami, I believe,
Polar covalent.
is correct. And your bonus. How many hydrogen atoms are needed to bond to the carbon atom in order to form a molecule of methane?
4.
Tukami?
4.
CH4, so you need 4. You're correct. Toss up in mathematics. If a system of 2 linear equations in 2 variables is inconsistent, what is their graph in the Cartesian plane? It is 2 parallel lines. Toss up in British literature. Heathcliff, the mysterious protagonist of Wuthering Heights, is considered to be this type of hero. Jim Thorpe?
An anti-hero.
Over to Deareth. I will read the whole question. Is Deareth?
A tragic hero?
It is a Byronic hero. If you had heard the whole question, you might have gotten that. Toss-up, but sometimes you have to take a chance. Toss-up in physics. On the monitor, we see an electrical circuit in which the circuit elements are labeled with letters. What is the name of the element labeled T? Jim Thorpe?
Temperature.
Deareth? Deareth?
Titanium?
Transformer. Toss-up in U.S. history. President Theodore Roosevelt was awarded the 1906 Nobel Peace Prize. He brought an end to a war between which 2? Jim Thorpe?
Russia and Japan.
Yes. For 5 points each. To which candidate did William Jennings Bryan lose twice? William McKinley. Second, name the victor of the campaign of 1908. Takumi?
Taft.
Taft is correct. Toss up in U.S. geography. You fly directly south from Detroit. What country will you fly over first? Jim Thorpe?
Cuba.
Over to Deareth. Sinar?
The Virgin Islands.
It is Canada. Let us go on to a toss-up in mathematics. Multiple choice. If 2 parallel lines are cut by a transversal, internal angles on the same side of the transversal are always A. Jim Thorpe?
Supplementary.
That is correct. And your bonus. A triangular sign has a height that is equal to its base. The area of the sign is 4 square feet. What is the length of its base? It is 2 radical 2 feet. The next toss-up is in world history. The 7 Years' War and the War of Spanish Succession were fought in which century? Giraffe?
15th century.
Jim Thorpe?
The 18th century.
It is the 18th century. And your bonus, the 7 years. The contest is over. The final score is Jim Thorpe, 175, Giraffe, 40. Our thanks to Giraffe High School for participating, and congratulations to Jim Thorpe High School. We'll see you for a second round later in the season. Thank you for watching and supporting these excellent students. Please join us next week for another contest on Scholastic Scrimmage.
Scholastic Scrimmage is brought to you by the members of PBS 39 and by
Scholastic Scrimmage is sponsored by St. Luke's University Health Network, the region's leading provider of medical education. For more than 100 years, St. Luke's has been dedicated to educating physicians, nurses, and healthcare professionals. To learn more, call St. Luke's InfoLink, toll free at 866 St. Luke's, or visit sluhn.org.
Support for PBS 39's educational programming is provided by the Deluxe Corporation Foundation, proud to support quality programming on PBS 39.